I'm SeeJayAre, and this is my review of Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Team Canada.
What's up, guys? In this video I'll be giving you my review of EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2. As most of you probably know by now, I had a chance to go out to EA's Redwood Shores as part of the Game Changers program. I basically played the game behind locked doors for 2 days straight, so I've had a chance to play through the entire story campaign and had a good amount of time, even more since then, with all of the various multiplayer modes. So the story mode, starting with the story mode, it's a new addition to this year's game. It's one of the things that fans have been asking for since the first game, and something that was definitely missing from the first Battlefront game. Not the first Battlefront game, 2015's Battlefront game. That's how I'll refer to it in this review. 2015's Battlefront, it was a good game, just kind of light on content, almost like a shell or skeleton of the Battlefront ecosystem and kind of what was to come. Battlefront 2 kind of just feels like a natural evolution of the game. So included with Battlefront 2 is a single player story mode campaign. So in that campaign you play as Iden Versio, commander of the Infernal Squad, which is a elite forces kind of stormtrooper group. So obviously you're playing as an Imperial in this game. You're starting this game as an Imperial, I should say. I don't want to spoil where the story goes, but it's about 5 to 7 hours. It's a really good addition to the other modes in the game. If you're buying this game just for the story mode, you might not get the content that you're looking for. Like I said, it's like 5 to 7 hours to finish it. But they do a really good job of telling a interesting enough Star Wars story. I don't know if this is a story that like is strong enough to, or a storyline that is strong enough to, you know, be fleshed out into like a movie or miniseries or anything like that. But there's enough good story beats there to keep you compelled to play through the story campaign. You also get all the Star Wars bits that you wanted. So all your favorite characters, locations, vehicles are featured in the story mode. That's a tough task for developers to kind of encompass everything in the Star Wars universe and condense it into that kind of single player story mode. But I feel like they did a good job of managing that, and they did the best job they can to kind of make sense of why you're doing certain things, is what I'll say, without spoiling it. So you can see on my channel, I've already posted the first 3 chapters of the story campaign. You can check that video out at the end of this video if you want. And I may post some more gameplay from the story mode chapters. So story mode, definitely a welcome addition to the Star Wars Battlefront experience. I will say that, you know, I would say it's safe to say that there's 3 times as much content in Battlefront 2 as compared to Battlefront 1. The multiplayer mode has really been fleshed out. So they had a good base with the first game. The biggest draw and the kind of premier mode in multiplayer is the Galactic Assault, which is 20 versus 20. So they're big team-based battles, you know, placed in epic environments throughout the Star Wars universe. The cool thing about this game, about this mode, is you can actually, you know, you can be on land as a stormtrooper or a rebel soldier. If you gain enough points, you can, you know, be Kylo Ren or Rey or Darth Maul, or you can take to the sky or to a land walker. It kind of encompasses everything from the multiplayer experience. Everything available you're able to do in this mode. So it gets super crazy in the best way possible. So that's kind of the highlighted multiplayer mode, and I think that'll be what most people are spending a lot of their time with. Other modes, there is Blast and Strike. Blast is your typical team-based deathmatch, team deathmatch. You're basically trying to eliminate the other enemy. There's no objective to play. I'm not really good at first-person shooters, so I tend to gravitate more towards Strike, which is another gameplay mode where it's more objective-based. So not only can I take out the other team members, but it's not solely focused. Your points aren't specifically based on that. But basically it's like capture the flag or domination mode that you would see in like a Call of Duty game. So basically it switches up the modes for a Strike, and it's a lot of objective based gameplay, whereas Blast is strictly a team deathmatch. Both modes absolutely fantastic. One quick mention, the nice thing about the story mode is all of the gameplay and controls are the exact same in story mode as multiplayer. So it's kind of a seamless transition between the two, and I know that that's something that when I spoke to developers that they were definitely high on. So being able to kind of jump into the story mode or the single player campaign, and then already be familiar with the controls for multiplayer is a huge asset. I think that's what a lot of people will probably do, is kind of play a bit of the story mode first and then try multiplayer out. At least that's what I would do. Maybe for the more casual gamers, that's kind of what they'll do. Another way to kind of hone your skills in the next multiplayer mode is actually arcade mode. So arcade mode is like the multiplayer mode, but you're not actually playing against real people. You're playing against like computer AI controlled opponents. Arcade mode's a great way to get your feet wet with the multiplayer experience without, being destroyed by people who are way better than you. So it's a good way to learn weapons, characters, maps. You also get to use a lot of the heroes in this, so you can control Luke Skywalker, Han Solo without having to unlock them, whereas in the final, or in the next, there's two more multiplayer modes. In the next multiplayer mode, Heroes versus Villains, that's where you actually need to play the game to gain in-game currency to then use towards unlocking those heroes. So it's nice that they let you use the characters in arcade without having to... You get a chance to familiarize yourself with those characters. A big point of contention with the Heroes versus Villains that I'm sure you guys have heard at this point is that the progression, the amount of time that it's been reported that it would take you to unlock a character was initially around 40 hours per character. That's what rumors were online. EA has been constantly kind of editing their online multiplayer systems, and this is one thing that they touched on. They actually reduced the amount of in-game currency that you needed to purchase those heroes. So I think they cut it by 75%. So I think it takes like around 5 to 10 hours of gameplay now, as opposed to 40 to unlock one hero. So it's still a big time investment, and the one negative is to more casual gamers who might put 20 or 30 hours in with the game, they may not get the chance to actually use those characters. So that's been one of the complaints with Battlefront. I'll get to the loot crate system after the final multiplayer mode, which is my personal favorite, Starfighter Assault. So whereas Galactic Assault takes place within a planet's atmosphere, so being on the land or in the sky just above where the battle's happening, Starfighter Assault takes place in space. So it's those epic Star Wars space battles that you've always wanted to play. It's made by Criterion, so that section of the game, EA kind of split up the development of this game. So EA's Motive handled the story mode out of Montreal, and Criterion, who most of you would know from the Burnout Racing series, handled the Starfighter Assault mode. So, and they did a fantastic job. This mode is absolutely my favorite, and this is where I see myself spending most of my time. There's a crazy sense of speed, and what would normally be pretty disorienting because you're constantly like flipping perspective and stuff, is actually really done pretty well. So you always know where your objective is. There's really good on-screen markers, and with the graphical fidelity, I never felt like I was getting dizzy or anything like that. I know some people still might, but I found that they did it really well. So hats off to Criterion and EA for having the foresight to kind of like, compartmentalize these portions of the game. I think in my written review, I referred to the trifecta of DICE, Criterion, and Motive, kind of like forming like Voltron to create this fantastic Star Wars experience. So Really impressed with what DICE did on the multiplayer side, and Criterion chipping in on the Starfighter Assault, which, like I said, is my favorite mode. Highly recommend you guys. That might be one of the first places I would recommend you guys go after the story mode. So getting to the progression and loot crate system, I think this is really the only, negative to this game. This is a fantastic game. This is the only thing keeping this game from being an instant classic, and in my mind, easily the best Star Wars game ever made. So the progression system revolves around star cards. You use these star cards to upgrade abilities, weapons, augment your experience basically, and kind of gear the game towards you, how you like to play the game. The problem with it, it's pretty overwhelming. I have to hand it to EA. They actually included a really well done video. It's one of the first things you see in the menu when you start the game, kind of explaining how the star cards work, and that actually really helped me. But it's still kind of like cumbersome and overwhelming, just the way that they did it, and it's one thing that I'm not a big fan of. The other problem is the loot crates. So EA has really been listening to the fans and has adjusted exactly what's in these loot crates. I know that some of the best, or the best items in the game are no longer available in loot crates. So the problem rises when you can pay real world money for these loot crates, and if they have, if they have items that can enhance, weapons or abilities, that can help you in the multiplayer campaign. So basically you can spend real world money and get rewards for multiplayer gameplay. So it's kind of a pay-to-win system. They have changed it quite a bit since the multiplayer beta, so it's nice to see that EA is actually listening to the fans. So, well, it'll be interesting to see at the time of the review, you are still able to get these upgrade items. It's not, the loot crate system is not purely cosmetic as most people feel like it should. So those two things, the progression system and the loot crate, are the only thing that's holding me back from giving this game, like, I don't really want to apply a score to it, but it's a fantastic game, and it's kind of unfortunate that those two things are going to have like a cloud of negativity over such a fantastic Star Wars experience. Anyways, guys, that's it for my not so quick Star Wars Battlefront 2 review. You can find a full written review that I wrote for Goliath.com in the description below. Stay tuned for the end of the video. You can find some of the gameplay video I posted on the single player campaign mode. If you enjoyed this video, you can do me a big favor by hitting that like button, and if you haven't done so already, feel free to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next episode.